Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I want to share with you my go-to settings for vocal compression. We are talking vocal compression today, but before we dive in, if you are ready to take your vocal mixes to the next level and really start perfecting your EQ strategy, then I have just the thing for you. It is my ultimate guide to vocal EQ, and it's just a simple PDF that will walk you through how to EQ your vocals step by step to help you get polished and professional sounding vocal mixes without any more of the guesswork. It is a completely free guide, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and talk about vocal compressions. Or vocal compression. I'm going to show you two different compressors. I'm going to show you my go-to compressor, and then I'm going to show you my go-to settings for the stock compressor here inside of Studio One, which is what I started out with when I was getting going engineering before I had some of these fancier plugins in the later versions of Studio One. Let me start here by showing you what the lead vocal sounds like inside this mix here, and then I'll solo it up so you can hear it by itself as well here. So here's the finished mix here. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be a memory. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be a memory. Running and run. So you can hear our vocals nice and even. It has some good energy to it, and it's sitting right up front here in this mix, especially with the amount of instruments we have going. Background vocals, lots of acoustic guitars here, an electric guitar, and a couple keys as well. It sits right where it should, and it's very even, very consistent. That's what we want to get with compression. I'm going to start by showing you my go-to compressor for vocals. You've probably seen this before if you've watched any of my videos. I love using this 1176 or this FET comp inside of Studio One here. My go-to settings for this are about 0.55 milliseconds on the attack, and then the fastest release here. So we're all the way up at 50 milliseconds on the release. And I'm pretty much just pushing this till we're getting about 7 to 10 dB of compression here on the lead vocal. So just pushing up our input here till we're getting about 7 to 10 dB of reduction, and then pulling our output back till we're doing the same amount of volume in and out of the compressor here. So take a listen. This is just the vocal, and I'll A/B this compressor. You can see how much reduction we're doing, and you can hear what it does to even out our vocal while actually imparting some analog vibe as well. So here's the vocal with this compressor on. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be a memory. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll... So the reason I reach for this compressor more often than not with vocals is because of the vintage vibe it imparts. These settings work great for most 1176 stock compressors if you go for these types of settings here. With the attack about 0.55 milliseconds and the 50 millisecond release, the fastest release. So a little bit slower than the medium, or a little bit slower than the medium style attack here on the attack, and then all the way fast here on the release. Those are like stock settings that you'll see a lot on 1176s, especially for vocal compression. And then pushing it to 7 to 10 dB reduction. That's like a classic CLA type move on vocals there. But this compressor here imparts some nice vibe and some nice character on the vocal. I want you to listen one more time. Pay attention to how much more weight and fullness we get in our vocal, and it feels like we get a little bit more energy too, like he's pushing a little bit harder on the vocal part here. So we'll start without it, and then I'll kick it in. Listen to how our vocal tone changes a little bit. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be a memory. Yeah, yeah. So we get a little bit more fullness there in the bottom end. The compressor gives us a little bit more body, as well as doing the job of a compressor and evening out our vocal, making it feel very, very consistent, so we can park it right where we want it in the mix, and it'll be out front. It'll be that focal point in our mix. Now, if you don't have an 1176 style compressor like this, you can always reach for a stock compressor. Now I want to show you my go-to settings here for a stock compressor. For vocals, I usually want to go 4:1 on the ratio here. So a little bit more aggressive than a medium style ratio here. So we're not going too soft with it. We're not going too hard. We're not going up into the limiting range here. 4:1 is a nice place that I want to be on vocals here. That gives me the amount of reduction I want to even out the vocal pretty nicely there. Attack here, I want to be a little bit faster, so I'm going to go a 7 millisecond attack here. Notice we're not quite as fast as the 1176 style compressor, but we're still pretty fast here for attack on a compressor. So 7 millisecond attack here. We don't need to leave any room for transients or anything like that on the vocal. We just want to even it out a little bit so we can sit it where we want it inside the mix here. And release, I usually like to be somewhere around 40 milliseconds on the release. These are my go-to starting points for vocal compression on a lead vocal like this. So now we're going to hit play here. I'm going to tweak these settings. I'm going to pull the threshold down till we're getting the amount of compression we want. And I'm usually going to be sitting about the same range, so like 6 to 9, 7 to 10 dB reduction here on the vocal. And we can tweak our attack and release to sit where we want with the vocal here. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll say I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be a memory. Yeah, yeah. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my call. So that's feeling pretty good. See, I did like two little notches here on the attack and release to get them where I wanted it on the vocal there. A little bit quicker on the attack. It wasn't grabbing this part here on the vocal fast enough for me. Just notched it up to about 6 there on the attack. And then on the release, I pushed it up to about 45 milliseconds there. So it held on a little bit longer, and then it felt like it was moving in time with our lead vocal there. Let's get our makeup gain going here so our vocal sits at a good level in and out of the compressor, and then we'll throw it back in our mix here. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be a memory. I'll never be the man she needs. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be a memory. Yeah, yeah. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon. The nice thing about a compressor like this, like a stock compressor, is that it's pretty transparent sounding. So if we solo up our vocal here and I A-B the compressor, besides the little volume changes that we get from the compressor evening out the vocal, there's not much character or not much vibe being imparted by the compressor. So if you're loving the way your vocal's sounding and you don't want to change the tone or reshape the vibe and character too much, a stock compressor like this is going to do the job fabulously. It'll even out your vocal without changing the tone or imparting any extra character or analog vibe to your vocal. It'll leave it just the way you EQ'd it while evening out the overall volume. So listen one more time here. This is just the vocal, and I'll A-B the stock compressor here. So listen to what it does to our vocal here. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be a memory. Yeah, yeah. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but So we're evening out our vocal without imparting too much vibe. Whereas if we shoot back to the 1176 style compressor here, listen to what this is doing to our vocal. So we'll start with it, and I'll take it off. Listen to how our vocal changes as we kick it in and out here. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll... You can hear it imparts a little bit more low-end weight to it. Our vocal feels a little bit more full, and it gets a little kick of energy. Feels like he's pushing a little bit harder on the microphone there, going in a little bit harder on the vocal part. So if you want that kind of vibe on your vocal, if you want that extra character from an analog compressor, definitely reach for something like this, an analog 1176 style or FET comp. And these are my go-to settings for this. So about 0.55 milliseconds on the attack, or a little bit slower than medium there, and then fastest release, and we're doing about 7 to 10 dB reduction there to even out our vocal while getting that extra vibe by pushing that hard into this compressor. And if you don't want something like that, or if you don't have something like that, the stock compressor in your DAW will work perfectly. It's just not going to give you that extra character and that extra vibe. But if you don't need that and you don't want that, you will get everything you need from the stock compressor inside your DAW. And like I said, my starting point here for a stock compressor is usually 4:1 on the ratio. A 7 millisecond attack and 40 millisecond release is where I start, and I just tweak from there. And it usually doesn't take very much to get it doing what I want it to on the vocal. You can see I just notched it up to 6 on the attack here, and notched it up to about 45 milliseconds on the release here. So a little bit faster with the attack, a little bit slower with the release, and it's doing exactly what I want on the vocal. And we're doing about the same amount of reduction. We're doing about 6 to 8 dB reduction here on the vocal with the stock compressor. And then we're just pushing our makeup gain till we're getting the same level in and out of our compressor. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you are ready to take your vocal mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your EQ strategy, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my ultimate guide to vocal EQ, and you can download it below to start creating more professional vocal mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.